All right, welcome to Brothers and Boss Battles, a video game showdown. Today we're discussing Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast. All right, Tom, why don't you give us your initial thoughts?
Just to preface for this playthrough that my latest one that I did for the podcast here, I played it on Steam. They have the Sonic Adventure DX, I guess, director's cut version, which I think the prevailing opinion online is that it's actually worse and more buggy than the original Dreamcast version, which is actually kind of appropriate for a game like this. And I know that, I'm going to trigger some hardcore Sonic fan base here, but this game is just very mediocre to me. There was, there were some good things about it that I enjoyed, but a lot of it was just kind of like going through the motions to get through the game.
All right, Pete, initial thoughts.
Yeah, okay, so here's how I want to... Well, first of all, I too was... Or, not too, but I was very excited to play this game. We had this when it was initially released for the Dreamcast, and I do remember playing it kind of vaguely. I don't have strong memories about whether it was good or not, or whether I liked it or not. So I was really excited to play it, and I think I feel similar to Tom in that it didn't quite live up to what I had hoped it would. But what I really want to say for my initial thoughts is that this game reminded me of like an athlete in pick your favorite team sport, like the athlete who's considered the superstar but doesn't really perform like one. So like at the end of the year, their stats look great, look like he had a good year, but they don't come through in the biggest moments against the toughest competition. They don't elevate their team. So like that's what Sonic Adventure reminded me of. Like it was, I think, the best-selling Dreamcast game in North America. It had great reviews from critics and publications and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you could really make the argument, you guys are gonna laugh, but that this game is the reason why the Dreamcast failed.
I thought I've heard that before a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, so...
Oh, go ahead.
No,
What'd you play it on?
I played it on Xbox. I don't know, was that the 360 version?
Okay.
But anyway, I kind of want to conclude this whole spiel by saying, like, I feel like this was the game that was kind of supposed to get people buying the Dreamcast. And, like, all circumstances are different, but I think what Halo did for Xbox, this game could have done for Dreamcast, and it failed to. And I think that's important to keep in historical context. I was actually, to bring Halo into it, I was reading about it, and the VP of like Microsoft's entertainment division or whatever it is, he basically is on record as saying the Xbox wouldn't be where it is without Halo. And so, like, I don't want to say, the Dreamcast sales were bad, so that's why this game, like, kind of got lost in the shuffle. I think it might be the other way around, where Sonic was the game for the Dreamcast, and because of all the flaws that we're going to talk about, it led to the Dreamcast demise and couldn't save it.
All right, before I give my initial thoughts, I'd like to congratulate Pete on having the Guinness Book of World Records longest initial thoughts that we've had on this podcast. So thank you for that. And initially when I took a look at this game, I honestly don't recall playing this back on the Dreamcast initially when it came out. I did play it for this playthrough, regardless of whether I had done it in the past or not, on our old Dreamcast. So I played with the Dreamcast controller on Dreamcast, with the laser not working and having to turn the Dreamcast upside down so that it would read the disc so I could play and all of that fun stuff. So, I mean, initially looking at it, I was like, oh, this is going to be a fun game because not only do you get to play Sonic and Tails, but you have, 4 other characters for a total of 6, and you play various different storylines that intersect. So it was really, I was like, that's something I really like, and thought it'd be cool. The Sonic games back on the Genesis, to me, they never were as good as like Mario or Crash Bandicoot or the other sort of headlining cartoony-ish games for the other systems, but they were still good. And so, I was sort of like, okay, you're not going to go too wrong with the Sonic. But, despite some positive aspects and liking Sonic for the most part, I just, didn't really find much going on for this game. So we'll get into it more.
Was that the second longest initial thoughts?
I tried to beat you, but I just couldn't. Sonic Adventure was developed by Sonic Team and published by Sega, initially releasing on the Dreamcast in Japan on December 23rd, 1998, but more importantly for us, North America, September 9th, 1999. It was then released for various other consoles, GameCube and Windows, in 2003 and 2004, respectively. Xbox 360 here in North America on September 15th, 2010, and then September 20th, 2010 on the PlayStation 3. Anyway, how should we start this? Yeah, go ahead.
I want to piggyback off something you just said, and
we won't add this to your initial thoughts.
No. This is starting the actual show.
Well, before you do that, though, just for those that don't know, Brothers and Boss Battles, Video Game Showdown, we pick a genre or category of games. If you don't know, we review 3 games every 2 weeks, and then we have those 3 games go into our bro down in the specific category, and we pick a winner and a runner-up, and therefore a loser. So we reviewed Shenmue and Resident Evil Code Veronica. Today we're doing Sonic Adventure for our category of games that initially released on the Sega Dreamcast. All right, Tom, at the episode, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just going to say that, I feel like the Sonic series, just as a whole, at least up until this point in this game, has just been very mediocre and overrated. And, I feel like, with this game, they tried to bring the classic Sega Sonic games, Sega Genesis games, into this 3D environment. And, they were trying to stick to that very closely, at least with the Sonic levels. Mm-hmm. And it just, I don't know. I don't feel like it really translated.
Yeah, one of my problems with this, and we could start with the Sonic levels, I think. They tried the really fast-paced, running through things, and it kind of looked cool, but, some of the levels were overly easy.
But, how many times did you feel like you were just, holding up on the stick and just, letting the game play itself?
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah.
But didn't you do that at times during the original Sonics? Or Genesis?
That's what I'm saying. It's they're just not these games aren't fun.
Yeah, they look better than they are fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my initial impression of the game after playing the first 1 or 2 actual levels with Sonic was positive in kind of the things we're talking about. So 1, it felt like the old Sonics, but in the new generation, which I thought was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, I thought the graphics and the speed and everything, the environment, I thought that was really impressive. For the time.
Yeah, it definitely looked good, and those fast-paced things where Sonic's going through 3D loop-the-loops and all of that were cool. But then Tom's right, there were these points where you'd bounce off a bunch of bumpers, and you would just fly and go everywhere and loop and this, that, and the other thing, and it's you literally didn't do anything other than maybe not hold backwards on the controls where you would do a hard break. So
yeah, and one other thing about the Sonic levels, and I guess probably most of the characters, but I don't know, did you feel any incentive to be collecting rings and avoid enemies? It's as long as you have 1 ring, it's you're fine to make it to the level.
Wasn't it didn't you get more of
those
points? Yeah.
Like, did those points do anything?
I don't know. I mean, I'll say this. I appreciate that it was a 3D game that was not a collectathon. Um, but my problem, especially with like the main characters like Sonic and like a few others, is that it was like incredibly easy, the levels at like for the first portion of their stories, and then like the last boss battles were like really difficult. Like I don't think it scaled difficulty wise well at all. Like that last Sonic battle was really tough, where the Robotnik's like breaking apart the stages.
I feel like that was only hard because of the bad controls, though. It wasn't like actually hard. You mean like that? If I think it was called Egg Viper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then and just spoiler alert for the rest of the episode. There was maybe a little kind of spoiler there, but we're gonna be talking about the game, and
Sonic fights Robotnik.
Yeah. That's essentially it. I mean, Robotnik he's looking for the Chaos Emeralds, and it's like all of this hijinks occurs where like these characters are running into Chaos Emeralds, and he wants it for, I guess, to destroy the city, Station Square or something. I don't quite know. It's not important.
I'm laughing because like I was not confused, but like his Robotnik's motivation was like to destroy the city and build a new one that he'll rule, I think.
Yeah,
so it's like he basically wanted it to become mayor. Like, like it was so silly.
Yeah, I will say that the opening scene before you start, where it's like, I guess like it was like a precursor of what he was trying to do with like the water crashing through like the buildings and like flooding the town, was kind of actually well done. But it goes to your point about the graphics. Like those were all I thought, well, for late 90s.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to kind of something we were talking about, Tom, about motivation. So like there was like 3 objectives, I think, in each level. And I think that varied from character to character. But like for Sonic, it was like one of them was basically reach the end. The other one was to do that with 50 rings, I think. And the third one was to do it under a certain amount of time.
Yeah. They were all different per character, though, which is a cool concept. But
yeah. Did those give you those emblems at the end if you like completed more of those? Okay, all right. Yeah, so there's a legitimate reason then.
Yeah, we'll go over our emblem count. I actually do remember it.
I have mine too. It's probably very low because I don't think I ever got like higher than they give you like a letter grade at the end of each one, right? At the end of each level.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah. I think they do. I have no idea what. I don't remember those.
Yeah, I feel like mine was F+ every time.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like this. To me, the scaling wasn't great. Maybe it was just more the controls, but
I didn't find the scaling to be a problem.
Yeah, nor did I.
That boss battle that you were talking about was one of the more fun ones because it didn't take like less than 15 seconds to beat. So, like,
I guess
in that sense, I guess it scaled like exponentially more difficult, but from where it was starting, it wasn't really.
I remember the Tails one not being that easy either.
You'll have to remind me which one you're referring to.
Yeah, but like for that Egg Viper fight, as I mentioned like the controls and stuff, but for me, I mean, I feel like the game was bugging out because I would go to do my jumping homing attack with Sonic, and it just like he would like kind of hit into Eggman's machine but like not do damage and just kind of like skid off.
Oh, maybe you didn't time it right or something.
Yeah, I mean, did you have to really time it?
Well, I think timing
maybe.
the like attack button after you jump, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe you were too far away, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely making contact. It just, maybe it wasn't the sweet spot, but yeah. So that's what made that fight a bit difficult for me, is that I kept, I guess, mistiming it. And then like those later stages, it he's basically removing pieces of the platform that you're standing on. So if you take too many times to actually defeat him, then there's nowhere to stand, and you just end up losing.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I mean, Knuckles, Tails wasn't actually too bad. That was with the like spider thing where you had to hit the legs. It was sometimes hard to because like the legs would stomp, and then when it got later in the battle, like two legs would stomp, and then three legs would stomp, like on the first, last or and maybe the second to last hits. So I mean, we had to do the tail spin on him. So that was tough. And then Knuckles faced the Chaos Six as his final battle. And that was tough too because he was like breaking those panes of glass, which like if you went in the broken pane of glass, like platform, you would lose your rings or die and you had to like hit those like floating freeze balls and then the Chaos Six would suck it in and if it was like disarmed by you hitting it, then he would freeze and you were able to hit him. So like I don't know, I just felt like that was a little annoying. And then it had the thing that I find very annoying in all of these, all of the characters had this, but the thing I find most annoying with these 3D games is the main map where nothing happens, where you got to find where to go. And honestly, some of those levels or finding where to go was more time consuming than actually playing the level in some instances. And that's pretty annoying.
That was probably my most hated part of the game. And
Yeah,
just it felt like the characters didn't really like or like they just, I don't know, like they moved too fast for the actual open world part and it was just
yeah.
like like it didn't seem like they actually fit.
Yeah, and then there were like little like lame puzzles to like get to certain areas. Like, oh, you need the wind gem, and you have to put the wind gem on the wind pedestal, and then it would float. But like just finding them, that one actually wasn't bad because it was like, but like there was also like the ice one, and like that was a little annoying. Like, which one do you go? And then you have to go up this like updraft of wind to get to another part, and then that level sort of in the forest
Yeah, that was annoying.
where it's
Yeah, I was
like
just gonna bring that up now.
those
Yeah,
polygonal
that was so
trees were
bad.
so hard. Like you thought it was a platform, but then you like go down, and then it's like,
That part was
it's
especially brutal.
yeah,
No,
that was pretty tough.
I agree with you guys. I really didn't like trying to figure out what was happening next. Like the only saving grace was that overworld
Hmm.
was pretty small.
It wasn't that big, but it was just like, like a lot of times it's like I'm not enjoying this enough to like want to traverse and like do
Yeah,
all this kind
explore,
of
and there
yeah.
really
It
wasn't
wasn't
anything
yeah.
interesting to explore other than
Yeah, you
just
talk to
finding
some
what you had to
people.
do.
Yeah, you could talk to some people, and they had those like floating orbs that would kind of assist you, which I guess
Yeah,
was good. But
well, that was like the best thing. Those
Yeah,
red
that was key.
lights.
yeah,
Without those, I would have like. I don't think I ever would have beat the game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like there's somewhere in the city where you can go into the sewers.
yeah.
Like it's like why would you know to do that?
Yeah,
So like we are talking about the graphics. The graphics are good. Like how it meshes with the gameplay isn't always great. Like I played on the Dreamcast, and honestly, there were a lot of times where I ended up in a wall where like I'd be like below the floor line, and like the camera would all be weird, and like all you would see was like a whole screen of green because like you were So there was a lot of those glitches with the graphics and but it kind of ties into what Tom said about like you're going so fast sometimes, so you would just wind up through a wall, but not like in a cool way where you busted through it, just like that there was a glitch in the programming. And I was like, okay, this must be because I'm playing on the Dreamcast, but it doesn't seem like that may have been the case.
I kind of know what you're talking about, but I don't remember experiencing an instance like that where like I was kind of almost stuck, you know, outside of where you should be playing, and you could only see just like behind the wall or all green, like you said, or anything like that. I don't recall that happening to me.
Do you know if you played the DX like Tom?
I don't think I played the DX now.
Tom, so what you mentioned some like glitching out.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't anything like that. I mean
Uh,
yeah. I mean so there was just the part that I was talking about with the Egg Viper fight, but yeah, as far as I recall, there wasn't really any like major clipping through an environment. Yeah, I mean, so like I said, I read online that people seem to think that the DX version was a downgrade to the original. There's even, I believe, a like on Steam, people modded the game, the DX version, to be more like the original, with like the original sounds and like some, like, I think, textures too. So like, yeah, people feel strongly about it, I guess.
Yeah. So one of the biggest bright spots for this game for me was the characters and sort of their stories intersecting, but each of them being sort of unique and playing differently, having different move sets, have like some of them having completely different stories. So I'd like to talk about them and then their levels, and we can go from there. But there's Sonic, of course. There's Tails. There's Knuckles, um, Big the Cat, Amy, and a robot that was Dr. Robotnik's shorthand Gamma. We'll call him Gamma for these purposes. I think it was E102 was his official numbering, but we could just call him that or Gamma, whatever. So, I mean, I thought that was really cool, and I like that they play differently. They weren't all just like carbon copies of Sonic, where it's just like get through the level really as fast as you can, and that made it cool. Sonic is Sonic. I mean, Tails, his levels were sort of get through the level as fast as you can and try to beat Sonic. Like that was the main objective with him. But with his like sort of flying and gliding, and there are specific parts of his story with the cutscenes and stuff that were different.
You end up playing the levels a little bit differently,
Yeah,
as Tails, but I do feel like that was kind of like a lazy kind of choice on their part to make it pretty much most of the levels were exactly the same as Sonic.
Yeah. And then Knuckles was cool. So his objective was to find 3 gems in each level that you play as him. And they're hidden. So you kind of have like this you're getting hotter meter at the bottom of your screen that helps you out. It was kind of cool. Those were sometimes very frustrating. In some of the levels, they really had them hidden away in like hard to reach places. But I mean, it was certainly unique. And Knuckles' moveset is, I think, the best in the game because he can climb and he can glide. So it's like you really can get anywhere a lot more easily than with other characters. Then there was Amy. Her main thing is that she really had this hammer that was sort of another weapon for her. A little bit shorter than the other 3 characters. Her
Yeah, I think
story.
part of her levels too was there was that robot that was always chasing you, so like you have to not get caught by it.
Right. You're right. Yeah. And then Big the Cat was completely different. So he's really just sort of mixed up in all of this, and he has a pet frog that swallows a Chaos Emerald and thus gets thrust into this all of this chaos, no pun intended. And it's so Robotnik wants him, and Sonic and Tails trying to get him, and then this character Big the Cat is like, this is my friend, I need to find him. So his levels are just you fishing. You're trying to fish him out of various bodies of water in this game. And then his last boss, you essentially, it's like sort of one hit. You have to cast the fishing rod into like this targeted area in one of the chaos monsters to pull out the frog, and then like that's it. So that was
that was one of the 15-second bosses.
Yeah, that was easy.
That was a pointless addition to the game.
Oh, we'll talk about more, but let's just E102 Gamma. That's kind of a cool story because it's Robotnik's robot that's working for him, and then like somehow has a change of heart. And so he like can shoot things out of his gun. So you use him for a little bit, and you're battling, and essentially when you win as him, because the whole thing with Robotnik is that he's turning like the animals into his like henchmen, right? I mean, so isn't it at the end like this Gamma, along with all of the robot brothers that he had, are like defeated, but like they they get released to their true form of these animals. You guys
Yeah, I guess
catch
that's
them?
why, like in the Sonic games, at the end of the level, you step on
Yeah,
that little thing, and then all the animals come out. And then
yeah,
even in this game,
yeah. In this
when
game,
you
that they have that
when you
too.
when you kill the enemies, they little creatures appear in these bubbles, and you can
Yeah, yeah.
grab them
Grab
for.
them, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So that those are the levels. So I guess we could start talking about it. Like, let's name our favorite and least favorite. Like, you have to pick one, and then that might wind up getting us to talk about all a bunch of them, and then we'll tack on whoever we don't talk about. But um, anyone want to go first?
I'll go first. So
Yeah.
my favorite, I think, was, at least from a fun perspective, was Gamma's.
Hmm.
But I will say that it was like so easy, his scenario,
Yeah. His was pretty easy.
because like the shooting was just like too.
You just had to shoot like continuously, and you would hit what you needed
Yeah,
to hit.
yeah, but like didn't it even like lock on too? So like you didn't have to be accurate.
Yes. It
So,
was like auto aim.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
And you could break, like, sometimes you had to break like platforms and stuff, or things that were in your way. The one thing in one of his levels that was annoying is that, like, there's like a bomb on the wood bridge that you go across, and if you hit that bomb, it blows up the wood bridge. And then, like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to jump this, and never made it. So, like, when I restarted it, I was like, okay, I can't
so you
do
can't
that.
just hold the button down.
Yeah, yeah, at least in that one part. So that was your favorite, you think, fun wise?
Yeah. Do you want me to do least favorite or?
Yeah, we'll each go with both of
So
ours.
my least favorite was Biggs.
Big the cat.
Yeah.
I gotta
I,
say that boss battle was extremely easy, but like catching the frog with the fishing mechanics, I don't know, to me was not that easy.
yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't.
I didn't really feel like I knew how, like I didn't
Yeah.
really grasp how to do it properly, I think, because like sometimes I was just like I don't know, like I was reeling it, and then it just like I would be like almost about to snap the
Mhm.
line, so I would just stop, and then I'd like
I think
Yeah,
that's what you
start
had to
doing it
do.
again. But
And then
like
in like the
it's
later level,
so
like it
boring.
was like it was literally on the hook for like 5 minutes. And
Yeah, yeah.
it was it really was
it
dumb.
was like really fishing. It's
I had a
fishing
little trouble
simulator.
with it is that is what it is. I had a little trouble with like just like
Casting it.
casting it. Not the mechanics of casting it, but like sometimes it would fall like way short or like way overshoot it. Like
And then there was that one like ice level where you had to pick up the ice boulders and like break the ice and then find them. So it was just like frustrating. Like, I don't know if I would call that my least favorite, but like it was certainly frustrating.
Yeah, the first level took me so long to like finally catch the frog. And then after that, I got kind of lucky. Like the next few levels, I kind of breezed through. Like I got the frog really early on. Didn't have to bother with any of the other fish.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't. So in
I
his
wasn't
level,
intentionally
yeah. Sometimes you could.
bothering, but sometimes I would just grab the lure.
Right. So like as we mentioned before, there was, if you beat like Sonic's level under a certain amount of time, then you get like the extra emblems. So for Big, his extra emblems would be obtained by catching various other fish for different point levels. So, the objective was to get fish the frog out of whatever body of water you were in. But you could fish for others, but I don't think I caught one excess fish in any of those levels. Maybe one small one in like one of the early ones. I don't know. It was cool. I think it went on too long. Like that should have been like a very short sort of series of levels. Like maybe cut out one of the levels they had. I don't know. It was. I thought it was unique and fun to do because it was like, all right, it's so different, but yeah, I get
yeah,
your point, Tom.
I think I completed Big in like an hour,
Yeah.
which was shorter than all the other ones except for maybe Gamma was also about an hour.
Yeah, Amy was pretty short too.
Yeah, yeah. So
All right, so we talked about Big the Cat and Gamma. from Tom's choices. Pete and I will go after our mid-episode filler responses to last week's Would You Rather question. All right, so in last week's Would You Rather question, came up with a question from our reviewed game, Resident Evil Code Veronica. And we focused on some of the critters and creatures that you faced that weren't necessarily zombies. And we asked, if you were in the survival horror scenario yourself, what would be your least favorite of these next three that you'd want to run into? And those choices were the poisonous moths, the flock of bats, or the giant spiders. Tom, would you like to give us some of your thoughts?
Yeah, so I decided to go with the moths just because of, well, how annoying they were. And just being poisoned is like never a situation. Never a situation you want to find yourself in, especially in these survival horror games with their, needing to find a specific colored herb to cure yourself. So I feel like that would be the most inconvenient.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go with the giant spiders. Spiders of all bugs don't really bother me too much, but they have to be regular sized spiders. Where we live, we don't see many tarantulas or these giant spiders, and obviously the ones in Resident Evil are extra giant spiders, but I would not want to run into one of those. The flock of bats, I feel if I have the lighter, I can keep them away from me. And the poisonous moths were pretty annoying, but I feel like I run a little faster than Claire, maybe. A little less blocky running, and maybe I could get away from them. But those spiders, wouldn't want to deal with that. Pete, want to finish us off here?
Yeah. At first, I was gonna go with the moths because of them being poisonous and all, thinking that maybe could kill me. But I decided to go with the bats, and they're pretty much the scariest animal there is. And so I figured if I encountered like bats, I'd probably just die from fear anyway. So, so that was my answer.
All right, there you have it. 3 different answers from the brothers. Now back to the regular episode. All right. Before the mid-episode filler, we answering last week's question, we were talking about the various characters and what was our favorite and least favorite, character and level. And Tom chose his favorite character is Z102 Gamma, the robot, and least favorite is Big the Cat. So I'll go next. I have to say, it's tough because there's annoying things in all of these levels, and there's some other more positive aspects. But I'll go with my favorite first, and that would probably be Knuckles. I think it was unique. I like his moveset out of everyone in the game the most. I felt it was it was certainly unique. It allowed you to get to places where like the other characters couldn't get in those same levels. And he's a pretty interesting character because he's sort of like the guardian of the big Chaos Emeralds. And, so there's cool story points with him. I like his moveset. Having to find the bits of the various emeralds, hidden away. I thought that was kind of a cool, unique way to do a Sonic level. So I'd go with Sonic. I'd go with Knuckles as my favorite out of these 6. Any comments on Knuckles?
Also known as Red Sonic.
He's an echidna, not a hedgehog.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I thought the concept of his levels was cool and interesting.
Sorry, Tom. They really tried to do a lot of different things in this game, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But this different thing I thought was actually pretty fun.
Yeah. And it would have gotten boring if everyone just had to go fast through all these ridiculous levels, and I don't know. So I'm glad they changed it up. And so for my least favorite, this is might be surprising, might not be, but I gotta go with Sonic. I just
Oh,
yeah, I just thought like after the initial kind of this is cool feeling when playing with him and running through those levels, I just felt it was very boring. And it's him being the main character is like it's his storyline's the longest, or at least equal to the longest. So it was just like a lot of this boringness, and then to me that very difficult boss fight at the end.
I really since we're on the topic of Sonic, I really disliked the casino level
Yeah,
because it was
yeah.
just like I don't know, like there were times where you would collect all these coins and you would go down, or sorry, rings. Uh, and then you would, go down into that lower
it's
level.
different. It's rings.
All right, yeah. And then yeah, when you're in that lower level, there would be a lot of enemies and like obstacles that you can lose all your rings, and then because the whole point of that level is to deposit a bunch of rings into
Yeah.
like this safe area.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was pretty dumb. I mean, yeah, Sonic was probably twice as long as the next longest character, but was Sonic's levels any worse than Tails?
I don't know. Honestly, it was kind of down to Sonic and Tails for me as my least favorite, but I don't know. I thought Tails was a little bit more unique because you could use his sort of, you know, flying boost and then gliding with his tails to like change things up a little bit. And, it was necessary in some of the levels. But I have to say, well, are you going to talk about Tails? Because,
Yes,
okay,
I'm
you are.
I'm
Because
going
I
to
have
talk about
something
the flight combat
Oh, okay. So, all
levels. Like,
right. So you have mine. It's Knuckles' favorite, Sonic least favorite. Pete, you go.
yeah, so I'll do it a little differently than you guys did, maybe to keep it interesting. But so I just touched on how they tried to do a lot of different things, and all of them were just fell so flat for me. So one of them was when Tails was in his helicopter, I guess, right? And you had to like shoot. I don't. A bunch of things just kept coming at you. You had to
Yeah.
shoot them and avoid them, and
Yeah.
eventually you just like reach the end of the level, and it was like, okay,
Well, in parts of it though, you have to shoot like Robotnik's ship, like the giant it
yeah,
opens up
yeah,
to shoot you, and you have to shoot it. So
that's
like,
right.
I actually thought those parts were cool for this game. The idea was cool. I like that they mixed it up. Tails is sort of like an engineer, and he flies, and he was the one building this plane. So I kind of like that. It was just very easy. Like I mean,
Yeah, that's
like
that's the
way
problem. It's
to
just
baby's first video game easy.
yeah,
Like
exactly. And then there was the snowboarding level, I
yeah,
guess, with
yeah,
like that was totally not fun at all. I mean, the problem, not the problem, but the thing is, a lot of the regular levels weren't that fun. So, like, to take you away from that for something else that wasn't fun isn't that big of a deal.
yeah.
But, so I didn't really care for those things. Like, they just tried to do so much and they didn't do any of it well. I think that was part of the problem.
So you won't stick to the format that Tom and I used, I assume.
Yeah, that's right. My favorite character was Gamma,
Okay.
and I thought like his last level I thought was actually fun, and yeah, it
Was
was
it?
easy, but like I had jotted down like I was left with 30 seconds left to beat the like final boss,
Mm-hmm.
and it only took me I think 6 seconds to beat, so that was plenty of time. But like I thought I was not going to make it when I first encountered him.
Yeah, that Sonic. It's funny that Sonic like ice level that you mentioned. It was like so easy, but there were times like where I would get turned around and not able to flip him in the right direction. I was like, what is going on? So I just had to like restart it,
Yep.
and then you'd blast through it very easily. Like it's just so weird. Um,
Yeah, a lot of whatever challenges there were in this game, it was kind of like maybe some control issues like that, or like we talked about, just finding where you had to go
yeah.
next. Like they weren't like real authentic challenges; they were annoyances.
What was your so if you had to pick a least favorite, we're gonna make it.
I mean, I guess Sonic because it was the longest.
Fair enough. I do want to say something. So you weren't going to talk about Tails. I wanted to get to. I
Well,
thought
I
that
talked about the flight part.
yeah, but that part isn't bad. That the Tails' last level, that speed highway where you got to beat Robotnik to his missile.
Yeah,
That that was tough to me, and that's what I mean about the scaling. Like Sonic's last boss was tough. This was really tough. Like you had to go through those green rings to like propel yourself, and some of them like you really had to keep getting into the rings, otherwise you would just fall. And there were so many times, and this might be partly the controls, but there would be times where like I could, I'm pressing the button to glide and it like doesn't register, and then you just kind of fall flat off a cliff almost, So I don't know. I found that speed highway level of Tails very, very tough and annoying.
Yeah, I mean, now that you mention it, I think I may have like died once or twice there.
yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Now that you mentioned it, yeah, I did fall off a couple of times, but and like it maybe took me a few extra minutes to actually complete the level. So in that sense, like it was more challenging.
So
But it's funny that you mentioned that because like I don't know, this just goes to the amateurishness of the game. But like in that level, like you're supposed to be racing Robotnik to like get to the missile first or something,
yeah, yeah.
and like there's no missile, there's no control panel. It's like literally just like this kind of square space,
Yeah,
empty.
yeah. You
Like
just get to the
it's
end
just
and
so
then
stupid.
the cutscene plays out kind of a thing.
Like they couldn't have put like a little missile in there or a control panel or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so all right, so we covered all of them except for Amy's level, which I don't know. It was very nondescript, I felt. But Tom did mention you are trying to keep away from the giant robot that's chasing you, so that's unique. You do have like the hammer as a weapon, so that's unique. It almost looks like a I don't know, like a something the Joker would use, like a giant like squeaky hammer kind of a thing. But
Yeah,
but um, but and
Yeah.
she sort of is the one who turns, storyline wise, is the one that turns Gamma to be sort of like a good robot and work against Robotnik and stuff. So like that was also, I guess, an interesting story point for her. But like her playthrough was kind of just like whatever.
yeah. I don't know. I don't find anybody's stories interesting.
At the end of the day, then you get 100% with all six of these characters. Then you get to play like a final level. It's just the boss fight against the most, I guess, evolved form of the chaos monster, and you do so as Supersonic.
Well, it's
Uh,
actually not just the boss fight. You have to like figure out how to like where to go to encounter
yeah,
him.
the
So that
only
was annoying.
yeah the only actual like fun quote unquote playing part is the actual battle.
Yes.
But yeah, you do have to kind of find where to go and listen to some cutscenes. It's kind of cool because each character comes and like uses a chaos emerald to power up Sonic, the Supersonic, and then he has to kind of like race. And at that point, like chaos is like starting to destroy the city. So you're running on the water, and then you have to gather enough speed and not get hit by the chaos monster's attacks to like run up him and like hit him in the face a couple of times. So what did you guys think of that? Did you guys play it?
Yeah, I played it, and that was pretty challenging.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
definitely the most challenging part of the game.
I would
had
agree.
I had to repeat that quite a number of times. Overall, I think it took me about an hour. I kind of jotted down
Oh
estimates,
wow.
and that included the cutscenes and figuring out where to go. So
Yeah.
maybe 40 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah. Tom?
Yeah, I played it for sure. I don't remember it being very difficult. Yeah, but like, I don't think I just steamrolled it. And I probably, failed it once or twice maybe, and then finished it. It wasn't really a standout to me in terms of, coolness or fun though.
Yeah. So I didn't beat that part yet. I did play it, and there's sort of like two sections of it. I've beaten the first section of it, but then when he starts tossing a lot of stuff at you, I just haven't gotten around to finishing that off. I'd like to, but um, does that give you another one of those Sonic emblems at the end when you beat it?
I'm not 100% sure
All right, because
if it does or doesn't.
I have my emblem number, but I am determined to beat it. So I don't know if I wanted to add +1 to it, but
You guys want to do that now?
yeah, sure. There's other more like technical stuff I want to talk
Yeah.
about, but yeah. So I had 47.
I had 49.
I had 49 as well.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Why is it 2 more?
There were some that were just like hidden in the environment.
Yeah, there were some you just find.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, all right. What
Yeah,
that means in context, I don't know if anyone really
collecting
is gonna know.
Collecting those emblems basically gives you unlockables, and they're just like different Sonic games. Right, so if you get, I think the first one was 20 emblems, you could get the original Sonic.
Oh. And play it?
And you could play it.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yep.
What other ones can you get? Is it Sonic 1, 2, and 3?
Sonic Drift, Sonic Chaos, Sonic Spinball, Sonic Labyrinth, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, and Tails Sky Patrol.
Oh, wow. You could get quite a few. That's kind of cool.
It is cool. At least there's...
Yeah, because back in those days, you couldn't just like, get all the games you wanted. Yeah. It's like...
Yeah, there's no e-stores. There really wasn't as much emulation. It's, I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so as is sort of my opinion with 3D games, I felt the controls were pretty bad in this. And again, I don't know if it's solely the controls or the camera work, but there were times where it's like you're running and then the camera shifts on you, and it's like, especially when there was like platforms where you had to jump, and it really threw me off in some levels.
Where I hated the camera was... It was on the second part, not like the city center. When you take the train and go to
Mystic Ruins.
Yeah. And then I guess it was like maybe where Knuckles was, but it was like you cross like kind of like a bridge and you could like kind of fall off.
Yeah.
But it was like there was like kind of like a hill where you couldn't see the bridge. And you had to walk very slowly towards the edge so you could get the right angle to see where the bridge was.
Yeah.
That was quite annoying.
Yeah, you would think like, I don't know, a game showcasing speed, and like they would put something like that for no reason, because it's like, why do you want someone to fall off there? It's like,
it doesn't have to be.
Like just put guardrails up and let someone run fastly through that part. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and then also what I noticed, what was it called? Station Square or something?
That's the main city area.
Yeah. But like when you would go kind of inside that little thing, and then you could go like kind of like left or up or right.
Yeah, that's different
like part.
Yeah.
That was always so challenging. I think that's where like the camera would shift on you.
Yeah.
So you were like walking one way, and
I didn't mind that as much. It was more during the actual gameplay levels that it would, be more annoying and costly if you could fall off the platform or whatever. I didn't like, honestly, completing the objectives was like, to the extent there was anything hard, it was like that or the bosses. But like the enemies, I don't know, it was almost like there was no need to have enemies in this game. It was like you barely had to attack them. They didn't do much. If they did, you were almost always able to recover at least one coin to kind of give you a second hit. So I kind of blah that way.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not really remembering any specific enemies, which kind of goes to your point.
Yeah.
But I do want to say one thing, though. We keep saying how easy the game was, but if we actually tried to get the 3 emblems for each level, it would have taken a lot more hours.
Yeah. And would have caused a lot more frustration and been a lot less fun. I mean, it's relative. It's all relative.
The fun per time spent would have been less.
The fun per time spent ratio. But what I will say, it had really good music. Like there was like your video game level music, but then they had like some like almost like pop song kind of music. I really like the Tails like flying theme. Like that was really cool, I thought.
I thought the music was really good too. Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, we're in
I just like I like kind of like the guitar.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
had good stuff.
It fit.
Yeah.
And even like the Mystic Ruins, they had that kind of like chanty song.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really like the kind of the main song, and then the one in the
Yeah.
Station Square.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was all good. I mean, they really, there was the voice acting. We should have to talk. We should talk about all of the main characters basically, and then there was that I guess it was like Tikal or Tikal.
Yeah, I think it was Tikal.
Yeah, that was sort of like a guardian of the Chaos Emerald, like that big Chaos Emerald there. Yeah. And I think she might have been all of those red orbs that help you throughout.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like her spirit or her essence or whatever. So, but other than her, it was just like really the main characters in Robotnik that you heard their voices. There were people you could talk to, and it would just be a quote box or or whatever, a quote cloud or whatever you want to call it. There was the speech bubble. There we go.
The train announcer.
Yeah. Station Square. Yeah. So let's talk about the voice acting.
I thought most of them were pretty good, and not that they were like outstanding actors who were gonna like win awards, but like I just felt like it fit. Like it felt like a Sunday morning cartoon, and that's kind of like how the game felt to me.
Yeah. No, I agree.
For the most part, I do think Knuckles was bad, and like just
one notable exception, Knuckles,
like very stiff, like with the acting. So like
it really was sort of like Poochie is needed in his home planet. Like I don't know.
I thought like particularly with like cutscenes and the voice acting, it was like made for 10-year-olds, made by 10-year-olds. It was really, I thought it was so bad.
Nah, see, I agree with Tom. Like I thought Sonic was really good. I thought Tails, while being a little annoying, was perfect for Tails. Like very kitty like kind of voice.
Like when they were crashing, he was like, no. Like it was not convincing at all. It sounded like you picked a person off the street, and a 10-year-old off the street, and they were recording.
That's kidnapping.
Yeah, you kidnapped a 10-year-old off the street and forced them to voice this awful game.
Yes, that's what it sounded like.
Nah, I thought Sonic and Tails were good. I thought Amy was fine. Not, again, sort of like her levels, like nothing incredibly descript, but not bad. Gamma was good, sort of like a robotic kind of voice. Dr. Robotnik was good.
The dialogue was corny,
yeah,
a lot of the times, which I felt, again, it's hard. Like when you're an actor and you have to deliver these corny lines, it's like it makes it harder on them.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Like Saturday morning cartoon, like I mean, I thought it was fine for that. Knuckles was particularly weird. It was really like a guy reading off the script. It's like I don't know. I didn't think it was a good job. And then
well, one thing I want to.
Big the cat. Go ahead.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention on this is like, and there was another time when, again, I guess you were when you were crashing or whatever, and I guess the camera angle shifted. So first you were kind of like aerial view, and like, I think it were Tails and Sonic maybe at the time, and it was kind of like, and then it was like the camera shift to like the ground where they were going to crash, and it was kind of like the ahs were like, there was like a cut. Like it wasn't continuous.
Yeah,
it was like almost like they had to catch their breath and then they continued saying it. Like it was just really weak.
I don't know that's nitpicky to me. But back to
it's not. That is like the simplest thing that you should be able to do.
No, it's sort of like okay, you're going to a commercial break and then you come back and they're falling still.
Okay, that exactly. That's what it sounded like. Yeah, but like without the commercial break, like if it was on streaming now.
And Big the Cat, they just kind of make his voice like really dumb. Like he just sounds like kind of like Just
Yeah.
like very silly, like a little too much.
Yeah. That was over the top.
You know, I'm going to venture a guess and say they kind of ordered the voice actor to sound like that. So I can't blame the actor there. I think that's more the writing or directing or whatever.
Yeah,
But
probably.
for the most part, I don't know. I thought the voice acting was fine for what it was. The sound was really good. The music was great.
It was funny how they like with I remember particular like well, so basically what I'm trying to say, like they reused the exact recorded voice lines in different spots in the game. Like I remember like with Robotnik, I can't remember what he said, but there's some like line that he kept repeating every time in the in like that final boss fight in the Sonic level. And then like in the Tails level in one of the cutscenes it says it the same exact way. Yeah, it's just
cut down on costs.
yeah, I guess.
And I have to say, I feel like at this point in history, it wasn't
You mean
enough
that?
just at that point in
That
history.
point in
Yes.
history. Yeah.
It wasn't enough just to be like, okay, we have voice acting. Like as
Yeah.
like a feather in the game's cap.
And if this was supposed to be like the big launch title that was supposed to like sell the console, like I feel like they didn't really like do that AAA feel to like the game didn't have that AAA feel.
You know, it's funny because when I turned it on, I was like, "Oh, this is a cool opening scene," and you got this cool rockin' music, and you have 6 potential characters, and you have to unlock them, and this is Sega's iconic character, and then it was just sort of like, I don't know, like the air comes out of the balloon pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like it's like all I did was enter my name. It was like really, all of that was cool. Even the first, I'd say 2 levels playing Sonic, I thought it was really cool. And then it was just like,
yeah, because you guys played this time around before I did, and like you were just like trashing it, like in our just regular conversations, and I was like, so then when I turned it on and like had that feeling, I was like, oh, these guys what's wrong with them? And then I was like, no, they're right.
Yeah, this is another thing I noted that's just kind of goes to the non-triple anus, but like
Triple what?
yeah, so anyway, I guess when I forget what part of the story, but you're Knuckles, and then you see Eggman like walking towards the door, and it's just like he's like it's like a ladder match in professional wrestling. Like he's like walking for like 5 minutes, like in place. Like it was just so. I don't know if you guys.
I'm glad we played this game. All right, back to the show. All right. I mean, I really don't know if there's really much to add. We covered sort of all of the important aspects of a video game and this video game, I think. You guys want to get
wait.
Oh.
No, there is one thing that I'm sure none of us did that I think is important to add, and that's the KO garden. You know, this little KO?
Chow.
Like, is that how you say it?
I think so.
Oh, the animals, right? Oh no, like the Tamagotchi kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess, yes.
So in the Dreamcast one, you could play that like on the VMU.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least you see him on it. Like.
But you're right. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Likewise.
Me either. But you could use some items, I think, on them, or also you could basically feed them like the Robotnik's animals that you get from the levels, and the different animals give them different stats. But I guess the main objective is to race them. Like you build up certain stats, and then they're better or worse at racing, and then you could get emblems that way.
Oh, that's interesting.
But it's
they really don't advertise that well enough in the game.
No, they don't at all. And it's funny that you described it as Tamagotchi because
first of all, no one like younger than us will understand what that reference is. But
that's true. No, well, it's just based on like time in the game, and like they I guess hatch from eggs. Is that what they do? And then they'll die. I think after like 12 hours of not real time, but 12 hours of playing time. And I think they take naps and things like that. So I think it was more, this kind of concept was more hashed out maybe in this Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, it's like they really did just throw so many curveballs here.
Yeah, exactly. And this is another example of it where it's like kind of half-hearted, like
Yeah.
included in the game.
With that tidbit, should we do final thoughts?
All right.
Pete, why don't you start us off here?
Because I sounded so excited to give final thoughts, I'll start my final thoughts with how we usually end our final thoughts. I really can't recommend this game to anybody. It's just a bore, and there's just, listening to the episode, I think we kind of trashing it, but it still may interest some of the audience just because it seems like there's so many different things going on, but really none of it is done well. I do think for the time when it was actually released, it was impressive in some capacities, but it's definitely not a game that kind of holds up after a couple of decades. So I can't recommend it.
All right, I'll go next. And the good things in this game, the music, some of the voice acting, the concept of using a bunch of diverse characters with diverse move sets and intersecting story points is outweighed by the more important stuff in a video game, which is like the gameplay and controls and a compelling story. And so for me, it was more negative than positive. And it was sometimes tough getting through this game, not challenge wise, but just wanting to play the game just to finish it. That's sort of problematic. So I feel on this show try to err on the side of positivity as far as my recommendations, but I wouldn't recommend this game. If you want Sonic, go back to Genesis or maybe want to play one of the subsequent games to this, but I really wouldn't recommend putting this one into the game console or loading it up and playing it. Tom?
Yeah, I'm gonna, be mostly in agreement with you guys. I do think probably at the time this may have been, a decent enough game, to want to play. Looking back on the reviews, like Pete mentioned earlier, like it was critically acclaimed and, sold well. I mean, I'm sure that's because it was one of the few launch titles on the Dreamcast. So basically, if you got a Dreamcast, you got this game. But yeah, I mean, there were some cool ideas in there, like having the multiple characters. I wish they would have tied those stories together a little bit better. Like it put me off that, like, for example, in Sonic's story, when you fight Knuckles as a boss fight and you defeat him, but then in Knuckles' story, you end up defeating Sonic. So it's like continuity.
Yeah.
It didn't line up there. So like,
I feel they did some good things with the intersecting of the story, but you're right. Yeah, you got that. That's a good point.
yeah. So like stuff like that just felt, I don't know, a little bit lazy. The whole Tails level felt lazy. So yeah, I mean, I also would not recommend this. I seem to recall Sonic Adventure 2 being quite a bit more fun than this, so maybe just skip this one and go straight there if you're looking for a Sonic game. And I haven't played a new Sonic game in quite a long time, but I feel like a lot of the newer ones got some, acclaim. So maybe the series has improved from from this one, but yeah, I would avoid this one.
All right, there you have it. Thanks everyone for listening to another episode of Brothers and Boss Battles, a video game showdown. This was our third in our series of games that initially released on the Dreamcast. Check us out in 2 weeks when we have our Brodown episodes where this game, Shenmue, and Code Veronica, Resident Evil go into the battle arena. If you're looking for more of a Sonic fix, check out the movie Sonic the Hedgehog 3 that's coming out on December 20th, 2024 here in the States. Catch us, the brothers, on Brothers of Boss Battles on X and Instagram at Bros Boss Battles. That's BROS Boss Battles. Our YouTube page, our website, brothersandbossbattles.com, or wherever you get this podcast. We look forward to seeing you all on those sites and coming back to listen to our next episode. Until then, goodbye, everyone.